Thanks for watching Numbskull News. And today we're going to talk about this possible agreement with the ACC, Florida State, and Clemson involving unequal revenue sharing. This was dropped yesterday by Ross Dillinger. He apparently is the guru now, the guru of all things realignment when concerning the ACC. So when he puts something out there, you can take it pretty seriously. Everybody does anyway, but you know how I am. I doubt all the big media people. Let's take a look at this thing. I'm not going to read anything verbatim. I just took some notes from his article. I'm not the best reader, like reading aloud to you, like reading you a bedtime story. That's not my thing. But this has me, when I look at the whole thing, it seems to me this is what Florida State and Clemson, this is what they would like. I know it shocks some people. That was in the article. Shocking that they would stay. It's really not. If they can shorten that grant of rights time plus make somewhere close to what the SEC makes per team, then yeah, I think they would stay for that. Whether they get out in 2030 or the grant of rights ends in 2030 or 2032, they can always pay some money a year or two early and get out whenever they need to get out. It's not a big deal. If they wait to the end, they wait to the end. It saves them a lot of money. I don't know. To me, it seems like this is what they want. And then the end game of that is them then go to the Big Ten or the SEC, give you the double bird, and they're gone. And essentially how this is going to work, they're going to tie it into the TV viewership, the ratings. And Florida State and Clemson, they got great ratings. They got great support from their large fan bases. So they're not worried about that. They know they're going to get a giant chunk of the pie when it comes to a reworked ACC deal. And it also tells me something very important why the ACC, because the ACC considered this before, but the members said, no, we're not doing that. We're not going to all make less money so they can make more money. That's horseshit. We're not doing it. And I don't blame them. But what I do believe, the ACC coming back and saying, okay, maybe we can try this again. Let me work it out a different kind of way where teams may not necessarily lose a lot of money, if any. And the reason they're doing this, the reason they're adamant trying to find a deal, I believe the ACC is desperate because ESPN has still not opted into this deal till 2036. So as of right now, until they opt in, it ends in 2027. That's a problem. And the ACC and ESPN have been in negotiations for months. And I believe what this tells me is that ESPN said, okay, we will opt in, but we need to know that Florida State and Clemson are going to be there. If they're going to be there, maybe we throw in a few extra million or whatever, but if they're going to be there, we will opt in. We will continue this deal past 2027. But there was one huge piece of that article. One huge piece. To me, it's the main part of the article. And that is, it is unclear if there is enough support to get this thing to pass, because everyone has to vote on it. You have Stanford, you have Cal, you have SMU, all of them get a vote. And apparently you need like 2/3 vote. So what is it? 12 teams somewhere in there? You need a lot of support. We know the ACC absolutely does not have to be unanimous. We've seen it. All right. As long as they can get the bare minimum of votes to pass something, they'll pass it. But getting there is going to be tough. I believe maybe impossible. And here's why. Let me break it down for you. I just called them out. Stanford and Cal. Okay. Think about it. Their deal coming into the ACC was based on the ACC having a media rights deal till 2036. They're going to make around $10 million a year for the first, 8 years, 9 years, whatever it is. And then like the last 4 years of this 2036 grant of rights, they'll be full members. So that's what they're expecting. And with this new thing, if everything that Ross Dillinger is putting out there is true, that you're going to have a shortened grant of rights, well, what does that do to the Stanford and Cal deal? All of a sudden, they're making essentially Pac-12 money, and once that grant of rights is up, is Florida State and Clemson staying? No. Are they going to bolt for higher ground? You bet your ass they're going to. Now, a lot of people say, the SEC doesn't want them. The Big Ten doesn't want them. Bullshit. I'm going to make a whole separate video about that, so I'm not going to get into it right now. But I don't believe that at all, especially when you're talking 2030, 2032. That's when the Big Ten's deal is up, is in 2030. The SEC is up in 2032. Kind of weird that everyone's talking about those dates, isn't it? Yeah, because their media rights deal's up. No one has to take less to take on Florida State and Clemson. You can get your media partners to pay you for them, a pro rata kind of thing. I think that's going to be a major problem for Stanford and Cal, is that there's no assurances at all once you get to that end of the shortened grant of rights. So, do they stay in the ACC? Because the ACC is going to have trouble once Florida State and Clemson leave, because it's not just going to be them, it's going to be other teams as well. Why? Because ESPN will then offer you less money. The money you get from the ACC network is going to get slashed by a lot, because a lot of that is based off of Clemson and Florida State. Your CFP payout money is going to go down. So you're going to be losing millions and millions and millions because those two leave. And I can easily see Louisville essentially being the Colorado that says, screw this, we're out of here. Because remember, everyone, guys like John Canzano in the Pac-12 are like, oh, Colorado's not going to go anywhere. They're loyal. Apparently not. They weren't that loyal. They worked on that deal for months to get the hell out of there. That's exactly what they did. And I believe Louisville is going to do the same thing. I mean, they haven't been in the ACC for decades upon decades. This is, no. They're also going to get to higher ground, consistent ground, stable ground. And they've already had third-party talks with the Big 12. You bet your ass. They're not going to wait for Miami. They're not going to wait for UNC or anyone else to make up their mind. Once Florida State and Clemson are gone, they'll be gone. And then the floodgates open. Then then the rats are scurrying from the boat that's sinking. That's all there is to it. Believe it or not. SMU, they're going to have some thinking to do, but I think they'll end up probably, if something like this gets presented to them to vote on, there's a chance that they vote on it, because they're going to make no money. All right, now at the tail end of the grant of rights for 2036, they would make some money. I mean, it's up in the air. It's a question mark. Every school is a big fat question mark on who's going to sign up for this. But SMU may sign up for it and say, okay, 2030, they'll have their option to stay with the ACC and help rebuild it, or go to the Pac-12. Maybe that's an option. So I don't know. I think they'll end up just signing it and seeing what happens. I don't know if there's a whole lot that they can do. And of course, Notre Dame, none of this is going to affect them. You believe me, it's not going to affect them. So they'll sign up. They don't care. The next couple schools, UNC is not just some kind of instant, yeah, we'll do it. It's not. This is based off of what? TV viewership. Mostly football, if not all football, because we don't know if the basketball viewership is going to be put in there. That was some speculation by either Ross Dillinger or his sources, or both, because he said potentially basketball viewership. So we know football, but we don't know about basketball. But let's just say basketball viewership is going to be part of it. And I think with UNC, which isn't the greatest viewership, but it's not the worst. So I think overall, they may lose a little bit of money, but not a ton. So they may be fine signing this thing. However, NC State will lose a lot more. Their football viewership is pretty close to UNC's, if not sometimes a lot of times better. But their basketball viewership is nowhere near what UNC's is. So they're going to lose money, possibly millions, over the life of this new grant of rights. If it ends in 2030 or 2032, they're going to lose a lot of money. And I think that board of governors there in North Carolina is not going to be too thrilled about a school in North Carolina losing that kind of money and not being equal with North Carolina, since the board of governors does have a lot of representation from NC State. I don't know. That's a big question mark. I don't know if they would be cool with that, signing on to that for NC State to be losing way more money than UNC. Next up is Miami. I think they probably would, especially if they're winning. They'll have the viewership to where they're not going to lose money. And as far as the grant of rights being over early, I don't think Miami's going to have much of a problem with that. They would like to take a shot at getting into the Big Ten or the SEC. And if nothing else, they definitely know they got a spot in the Big 12. They already know that. However, Virginia Tech and Virginia, the ratings aren't great. The TV ratings haven't been great in a long time. Pretty piss poor. Basketball isn't enough to save them. So they'll lose millions. Over the life of this new grant of rights, this theoretical new grant of rights that ends in 2030 and 2032, whichever, they'll lose millions. Now, I think they probably know they have a pretty good shot at the Big 12, but do they want to lose all of that money? No, I don't think so. I don't think they'll sign on for that at all. Based off of viewership, no. These aren't stupid freaking programs and universities. They're not going to sign on to that. I don't believe it. Duke may sign on. Now, generally their football viewership is rather piss poor, but last year was a banner year. They had, averaged over 1 million viewers a week. Not bad at all for Duke, but that's not the norm. Now, basketball viewership, they got that great game several times a year with UNC, and it draws a hell of a crowd. A lot of good viewership. So their overall basketball viewership is probably pretty good. But it's kind of a gamble. You don't know what that can you maintain the football viewership? We don't know. And I'm sure they in the university don't know. So, how much are they going to lose? That's a big variable. The last 5 teams, if you look at Pitt and Georgia Tech, again, the viewership really isn't there for them. They're going to lose money. They're going to lose millions of dollars. And they don't know, it's kind of a coin flip. Could we get into the Big 12 or not? A lot of people assume, hey, backyard brawl, Pitt's automatically into the Big 12. We don't know that. We don't know how many teams these damn presidents are going to allow in. We just don't know. We don't know who's going to come available. If I'm right about UNC and really they're not going to get into the Big Ten or the SEC, if those aren't options for a myriad of different reasons, if everybody but me has that wrong, then UNC's a huge target for the Big 12 and Duke. What about Virginia and Virginia Tech? See what I'm saying? All of a sudden, the spots get filled up real quick if certain things fall the Big 12's way. And I'm not even talking about Miami. So, Louisville. You see what I'm saying? That's what? 4? That's 6. That's 6 schools right there. So, that would make me nervous if I'm Pitt or Georgia Tech as far as getting to higher ground one day coming to the Big 12. That would, it's not, and there's nothing certain. The only thing that's certain is the grant of rights is going to end sooner and you're going to lose a shit ton of money until you get there. Not very appealing for them. And then you got Syracuse, Boston College, and Wake Forest. They're going to lose out the ass in this deal. With their viewership numbers, they're dead. They're going to lose out the ass. And then what they really need is the longest grant of rights possible to stay in a relevant conference as long as you possibly can. And if that window gets shortened and your freaking money gets shortened, what's the bonus for them to sign up for this? So, I mean, think about it. You know, Syracuse, Boston College, Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, Pitt. You know, why sign up? That's 5 schools right there that are like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if you can get them to sign on. What about Louisville? You know, pretty good ratings in both football and basketball, but is there any chance of them losing money? Yeah, there's a chance they'll lose some money. If I'm Louisville, I am not willing to surrender $1 damn so that Florida State and Clemson can be happy. I'm just not going to do it. Louisville is a solid university, a solid football, basketball program. Their sports is second to none there. Louisville does a fantastic job of being competitive in all their sports. They spend their money well. They're not stupid. All they do is stay relevant. That's all they do. Whether it's Lamar Jackson or whomever, they stay relevant. And they win games. They have their down years and they have their up years, but you know what happens? Their ratings stay pretty damn good, pretty damn consistent. I don't know if it's enough ratings to keep them from losing money in this kind of new deal. And if they're going to lose money, I'm not doing that shit. So bottom line, the way I see it, when Ross Dillinger put into his article, you know, it's not known at all if there's enough support from these other ACC schools to sign on. Clemson, Florida State, of course they'll sign on. And Notre Dame, because, you know, it's not going to affect them negatively at all. But these other schools, I mean, I don't know what the upside is. You lose money and your grant of rights is gone earlier. Woo! You see what I'm saying? It doesn't sound great, does it? Sure as hell doesn't. So, I don't think this is going to pass. I think it's dead on arrival. I think, you know, the ACC is trying to find a way somehow to keep ESPN and you know, get them to opt in. Florida State and Clemson, they're trying to find any kind of way to get paid as much as possible before they jet to the Big Ten and the SEC. And if they can save themselves some legal bills along the way, fine. If they got to stay in the ACC a couple years longer, fine. They'll do that. But everybody else, I mean, everybody else is expected to sacrifice for those two schools. That's the issue. Unequal revenue sharing, that's exactly what it is. It's unequal. Now, you can make all the Florida State fans and Clemson fans are well within their rights to make the argument, hey, you know, all these people are making their money because of us. Well, that's not necessarily true. They're not making all of their money because of you. But they're making the majority of the ACC network money because of you. That's true. You know, a lot of things are based on Florida State and Clemson. You know, saw that with Texas and OU. You know, they felt the same way. And they said, well, screw it. We'll just call up Greg Sankey and go over there. Now, it helped our conference. If you ask me, I think we're way more fun. But that's a story for another time. But yeah, I think this is dead on arrival. I can't find enough teams that I'm like, okay, I know they'll sign up for this. And UNC is possibly one of those teams, but I can't see NC State going along with it. I can't see the Board of Governors in North Carolina going along with it. Yeah, there's a lot of sticky situations here. It's not just an easy We got everybody pleased. Everyone's good. Let's go. I don't see it. Anyway, thanks for watching this crap. And I'll be back with some more crap later. Bye.